Today we have an incredibly special guest.
Your reality will match up to this belief.
Joe does a really good job at allowing me to be me, and hopefully I do the same for you. Yeah?
I think many people dating these days don't even know what they want.
Dating is meant to be fun.
Knowing that you're enough with or without that date, I think, is everything, because then it takes the pressure off it to be successful.
Welcome back to another episode of First Rounds on Me, a First Rounds on Media production. Today we have an incredibly special guest, Niamh McCarthy, founder of Mindfulness, a revolutionary app that combines the transformative power of music with a mission to make mindfulness and meditation accessible to everyone and help us navigate the chaos of modern life. In today's episode, we'll explore the intersection of mindfulness, music, and modern dating. We'll also dive into some profound insights for those of us navigating relationships and the balance between personal well-being and connecting with others. Niamh, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hi, Niamh.
Hi, Joe.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I feel like we just met and we're already connecting.
I know.
In such a deep way. Not only because we're accents, but because we're both blonde as well.
Yeah, I missed that. So you guys were talking for like 10 minutes and I heard you have to be from Ireland.
Yeah, I'm Irish.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The name.
Niamh kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that an Irish name? I don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
strong.
It's actually Gaelic. It's not English.
So sorry.
That's why Americans have a difficult time
Okay.
pronouncing
Well,
it.
I know McCarthy is for sure.
There you go. McCarthy.
My,
I remember Stephen Colbert did this whole thing where he was going through, I think it was with Saoirse Ronan.
Oh,
and he was
yeah.
going
That's
through,
hilarious.
And he was going
The
through all of these
names.
names and he was like, how do you think this is spelled?
Yeah.
And it was just so
Saoirse.
fascinating.
my old boss was from Ireland. She was from Bantry.
Oh, Cork.
Yes.
Wow. That's an even different accent. Like every county has its own accent.
The dialect.
Cork is difficult. It's a difficult one.
Oh, and it was so funny because every time we would go out drinking, she'd have, whiskey or something, and her face would just get so red.
Really?
No matter
Really?
one sip, her face just went so red. And she's like, that's what I deal with when I'm Irish. I was
That's
That's
so
where
funny.
the Peaky Blinders actor is from. He was
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I really like accents that I have to concentrate to understand. It makes my brain, it itches my brain in the right way and I really like it. All right, so let's wind it all the way back to the beginning because I think maybe perhaps a lot of people who are listening to our podcast don't know your journey. So, and your journey is quite fascinating when doing research on you. So what was it that made you realize that you needed to step away from the music world when you were working with iconic artists like Madonna and U2 to dive into this mindfulness and meditation?
It wasn't really a choice, honestly.
No.
It was more like a necessity. But I think when you have a dream, I was very young when I got into music business. I was in Ireland, I was in college, and I was working in radio at the same time. And then I moved to New York when I was about 19 to work at a record label. And then at the age of 20, I was, New York, my soulmate. In New York, and it's really a New York thing. You either get it or you don't. It's like all of a sudden one day your whole life can change. And for me, it was that one day when I met Guy Osiri, who was the manager of Madonna and the CEO of Maverick, which is the biggest management company in the world. And he had just signed U2. And he was looking for someone to go on tour with U2. And he's like, I'm Irish and I worked in music. And so I literally kind of left everything, moved to LA, and then went on tour with U2 within the month.
What? But how'd they find you?
Mutual friend of Guy. It was just the craziest story. My best friend and I were 3 a.m. leaving a club, walking home to Soho.
Classic New York.
And, classic. I was summer, so it was still bright. And we were walking, going to Joe's Pizza to get a pizza.
Amazing.
And then one of my friends was there and Nadine was like, oh, Niamh, look, there's David. And I was like, is it? Well, it's so random. And then we went to say hi to my friend and he was with Guy. And Guy was doing his whole you're Irish, because he had just signed U2. And he was like, wow, this is a bit of a coincidence. And you work in music and you just left college. And that was it. Honestly, I remember the next week I got a call from his assistant and it was like, can you be at Madison Square Garden in 20 minutes ago?
And what does touring with U2 mean? What do you do?
You're on the management team. So I started as because Madonna was on tour at the same time that year. And so the two tours were going at the same time. So Guy needed someone on the U2 tour to be on the management team and be his person there.
Point person, oversee everything.
And just typical Irish. We just
Does
fucking
Taylor
went
Swift
for it.
have a
You're like,
management
all right.
team on tour?
Yeah. Every artist has a management team. But usually the big boss stays back in somewhere like LA where the big deals are.
If you guys if you find an intern opportunity with Taylor Swift on tour, on the
Really?
guy.
I don't know her team, but
So obsessed
I've heard
with
great
Taylor
things about her.
It's
I'm the
wild.
guy.
You are?
He is.
Oh, you're a Swiftie.
I'm not.
Yeah.
You have a bracelet?
I need to get a bracelet.
If he could have
You
gone
can't
on
be a
that tour-
Swiftie without
And
a
a jacket.
bracelet.
I need a jacket too.
I'll get you a
That is for
jacket.
I turned into a Swiftie this year, actually. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. I just wasn't nothing. And then I watched her Netflix and I was like, wow, so much respect for her.
I mean, I have a
Incredible.
very deep respect for her. It's just her, I like her music, but it's just, I'm not like, you know what I mean? The way he is. But also at the same time, I respect the fact that you are a diehard fan. And I will support your journey.
I support your journey.
In any which way that I possibly can. Okay, so then explain to us how
went on the whole thing. And then I did YouTube Madonna for a few years, lived in LA. And I was just honestly very burnt out, very stressed. I mean, it was a dream come true. Like, don't get me wrong. It was absolutely incredible. Once in a lifetime opportunity. You can't almost imagine the life you're living. But then at a certain point, I was like 24. And I had just developed a bunch of physical ailments. Like I had endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, cystic acne, a lot of gut issues. And just mentally, I wasn't doing very well. And I was on tour and I had my first panic attack, which was kind of when my whole journey took a different direction, because I didn't know what a panic attack was. If you've never had one, it's like the most terrifying thing. You think you're going to die. Yeah, you actually think you're about to die. And so that I went to hospital. I was in tour in Berlin at that point. And the doctor said to me, you know, you need to learn how to control your breath, because your breath is like a remote control to your nervous system. And I just like had no time. You know, I was like, oh, whatever the fuck, I don't have time for this. You know, like I have to get back to the show, whatever. And I really wasn't into meditation. It wasn't into yoga. That wasn't what I was exposed to growing up. And then stayed on tour. And then Guy sent me to meet with Deepak Chopra, who is like a meditation guru. And I went to meet with him and did my meditation kind of training.
So they knew that you needed some type of meditation?
No, I was getting into it. I was like kind of going on like the breath, the nervous system. Like.
So they, like out of the kindness of their heart they did it, or they were like,
yeah, my birthday gift. No, it was like a gift.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
It was like, hey, you're into this, like you're getting into this breath stuff. You should go and like see a real person about it.
He's about as real. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know about him. I was like, what? Okay, cool. And then I went to meet Deepak, and that's when the whole thing just game over for me. It was like, wow, like the power of our mind, the power of our thoughts, and how it affects our physical health. That was my thing. It was like, we can really control how we feel if we control how we breathe and we control how we think. And so I did Deepak, and then I stayed in music for another bit, and it just kept kind of getting worse in terms of stress and burnout. And then I just really dove into it. I went to a Tony Robbins conference and then did a mindfulness training in New York at MBSR. And then I developed like the first, without permission, I developed the first mindfulness department at Maverick, which was the management company. They managed everyone from like The Weeknd, Alicia Keys, U2, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. Like just really incredible company to be at. But there was no sense of awareness as to like, how can we be happy and stressed maybe at the same time?
We could use that,
you know,
on me.
because it's just like at some point you're living the dream, right? You're living where you want it to be, but there's a sense of like not totally fulfilled or not happy or what's next, and there's always next in life, right? There's always another artist. There's always there's a bigger tour. There's a bigger album. There's more reach. There's more listeners. But if you're not happy with now, when are you going to be happy? And so I was kind of having that realization of like, I'm 24. I've just, had an incredible life, and I'm still feeling a bit lost, a bit unfulfilled, very stressed. And so for me, meditation was just an absolute game changer, but it wasn't accessible to the people who I worked with in the music business because it was just too much time, too much effort. The training was somewhat difficult and inaccessible because of either the sounds or the oming or the clothes, and just like how society has kind of like the visual you have of meditation is like a woo-woo spiritual freak walking with no shoes. And it's like, that doesn't need to be that way. And your mindset about feeling good doesn't have to be difficult.
I think in the last few years, it's becoming so normalized in the best way. So I have a brother. He's very much like not in technology, very blue collar, doesn't care about anything. He started eating healthy, which was like a big step for him. And then he's like, I'm open to meditation. And when I heard him say that, I was like, wow, the fact that it's infiltrated all the way to you and you're actually receiving it well is pretty mind-blowing because...
But I think it's people like you, Niamh, who kind of like open it up and make it more accessible to the greater public. And like you said, it's like, it's not just like these woo-woo people walking around with no shoes on. There's such validity in taking time to stop, reset, reground, and center yourself. And like, this is something that Joe and I talk about. Like, we own a company and he's also the CEO of the company, right? So like, to be running himself ragged every single day, 14, 15 hour days. And I like, sometimes I want to grab him by the shoulders and be like, stop, just stop. And A, smell the roses for a second because we've come a long way, but B, stop and recenter yourself because the amount of stress that you take on every single day cannot be good for your mental or physical health.
No. And also there's, I'm also a CEO of a mindfulness company. So I had my moments of like, at being this stressed out mindfulness founder. And I'm like, okay,
The irony.
what the fuck? It's like, I'm building a meditation app and I'm so stressed out. And it's like, okay, something's fucking off here. And it's like, how
do you deal with it?
Awareness. Everything is as simple as just being aware of the moment. Being aware that you're stressed will actually take you out of that feeling. It's like, okay. And also, as you said, like taking a moment to be like, for me, we don't realize how powerful we are and how powerful our mind is. So we're running this race all day of like meetings and emails, and we're kind of reacting to life versus like setting it up for success. Like, how do you want your day to go? So for me, that's what the app is. Like, it's like 3 minutes in the morning. Everyone's going to hate that I said the morning on my team, but it's like the morning is like when you prime your day. It's like visualize, how do you want your day to go? How do you want to feel throughout your day? How do you want your emails to go? Do you want to meet someone new, have a new opportunity come that you didn't plan? It's like when we're constantly in this reactive mode, we're not even giving space for what could happen in business, in life, and whatever it is. So for me, it's like waking up in the morning. I do a 3-minute class in the app. I have my person I go to. Like, I do Jasmine every day. And for me, that sets up my mind to be very clear instead of like, again, trying to predict what's going to happen.
So I'm going to start to do this with your app.
Yeah.
So you wake up, how long do you wait until you do the first 3 minutes of the mindfulness?
Immediately. I just press play. But I have figured out a hack, which is not available in the app, that it wakes me up as my alarm.
Okay.
So the class actually wakes me up.
Wow.
So that's how I do it.
What a calming way to wake up instead of like, brr.
It's like Jasmine. She's like, good morning, beautiful soul.
It's like, am I beautiful?
Is Jasmine a real person? Or
Jasmine's a real person. Yeah.
real
She's in London. Yeah. And she's like amazing. So I wake up to Jasmine, then I'll make my coffee and I'll do another class, depending on what I need that day. If I'm like doing more creative work, I'll do Jasmine. If I have big meetings, I'll do Eugene. And he's more like, let's go.
I need some Eugene in my life.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, like, I mean, obviously I do a hell of a lot of research on all of our guests, but when Sarah and Felicia were like, download the app and just like give it a go. And I listened to it yesterday, and I was doing it right before I sent like a big email, and I did the calm. And then I just felt very like centered, and I felt very like, very within myself and very capable of what I was going to do. And I was like, oh my God, that was 3 minutes. And how that just even minutely shifted my mentality towards it was fascinating. So I even said to you last night, I was like, you would really benefit from this because it's 3 minutes. Yeah. Nobody doesn't have 3 minutes in a day to do something.
How is it different from Calm?
It's completely different. And I love the Calm guys, but it's not even comparable. Because the music, for me, like, I'm a music snob. And so when I listen to other meditation apps, like, the music would just throw. If I'm a Pilates class and the music's bad, I can't do the exercise. It's like if the beat and the breath is off, I'm like, I can't listen. So for me, the music, it's like we had someone produce it, someone master it, someone master the vocals. So it was like 3 albums in an app. So the music and the vocals, as in like the guidance, is like completely matched. The vibrations are cued to like change your brain waves to actually put you in a state of like calm. So the music is like number one USP. It's like music from Mykonos, from Tulum, from Saint-Tropez. It's like vibey. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's not like putting you to sleep. It's more like waking you up. And that was my intention, was like, just remember how powerful you are. Remember how brilliant you are, and silence the inner critic, and just let's go. Have a great life. Take care of yourself. Are we doing a mini class right now?
I mean, it's beautiful, but it's so true. It truly, I mean, again, I have like such minute experience within it, but it invigorates you in a way that.
What's the slogan of my life?
What?
Let's fucking go.
Is it? I'm holding back here my
like
Irish
all
person.
Day, randomly, I'll just be like, let's fucking go. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like,
You're
just
right.
like, let's fucking go.
Are you ready for him to do a Eugene class?
I think he could maybe benefit from the calm or like the focus, but also at the same time, I would love to. I mean, I love that side of him. I love when he gets really fucking excited because it means that like within him, he's very confident. Yeah. And he's very centered of the fact that I can do what I'm supposed to be fucking doing.
Right. And then there's this passion.
Exactly.
Which is, something to not take for granted.
And as a CEO of a company, somebody that's running and you can relate to this as well, motivating the masses, motivating your team, that's such an important quality. Something I really admire in him, but sometimes I'm like, just come back down.
But it is important because I tend to be more like that too, like just constantly motivated. So I need to relax.
Oh yeah, that's why I need to learn from you because...
But that's what the app really, the intention is for you to have access to everything. You're not just calm your whole life or motivated your whole life. You need access to also be grounded, be focused, be positive. And
also, you said about smell the roses. Like, that's something I don't do a good job of that I really want to. And I always go back to this quote of 5 years ago, if somebody told you you'd be here today, how would you feel? I'd be like, oh, you'd be like the happiest person in the world. Okay, now you're here, but you're just stressed like it's normal. Why?
I think that's actually something that you should focus on more, and we've talked about this multiple times, is the fact that you don't ever give yourself the opportunity to stop and smell the roses. You're always, because you're like, what did you say earlier? That there's always going to be something next. There's always something to work on, and like, yes, it's amazing, but like stop for a second, look around you, take a step back. I always say detach from the situation that you're in right now, take a step back and like look at it as a whole, and like look at how many people we have working for the app and how many cities we're in and all of these things that you dreamed of 4 years ago.
Gratitude is really important practice.
Gratitude.
And it changes the physical structure of your brain. It's actually powerful, you know. Just being grateful, like for you, if you're in that kind of mode, like waking up in the morning and just like, you don't have to write it down, just like 3 things you're grateful for will kind of bring you into that smell the roses mindset of like, I'm doing great and I'm going to continue doing great. Versus like coming from a place of like constantly needing to strive, which can sometimes come from a place of lack, obviously. But if you wake up and just be grateful, that's also powerful, a very powerful practice.
100% agree.
Yeah.
So habitually, like meditation, and you kind of touched on this to begin with, of the fact that meditation is typically like a long spanning thing, right? Like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Even I remember when I attempted meditation like 10 years ago, I was very intimidated by a lot of the aspects of it. And something that your app pushes is the fact that 3 minutes. Like all we want you to do is dedicate 3 minutes. Why do you think such a little amount of time is so impactful and powerful?
Well, it's just consistency, right? So for me, like a meditation practice is about consistency. Long-term gains, we see our brain actually changes. Like we actually change the physical structure of our brain when you have a long meditation practice for about 2 to 3 years. Like, so we're having like physical changes within ourselves from having a meditation practice. And if you do 1 hour tomorrow, the likelihood of you doing another hour the next day is very unlikely. You might do it next year. But if you can just do 3 minutes every day over the course of the whole year, like your entire life will change. And I built the app when I was in New York City. And I went out in the streets and I was asking everybody, just like, you know, pop quiz, like, do you meditate? No, why? And the consistent answer I was getting was, I don't have time. And I was like, you know, I'm so fucking sick of hearing that answer. I'm going to create something where I don't want to hear it. And you cannot tell me you don't have 3 minutes. No, you're on the subway, you're on the tube, you're in the car. You can do 3 minutes. It's one song. It's just a song, and it will literally change your mindset.
And how long ago was this that you started it?
I started building it during COVID.
But do you have a technical background, or did you hire?
No, not at all.
Well, we're very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Really?
Same thing in New York during COVID. Well, right before COVID, I was doing the same thing with dating women. Just, hey, how do you feel about dating apps? Oh, I hate them. And then hired people to like build the whole plan for me. Yeah.
Yeah, same. My best friend, actually, Rami, just happened to be an incredible CTO. I'm sure if I were to do it again, I'm sure the same. Like, just made so many mistakes, you know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like,
that's part of the journey, though, isn't it? Is it like to learn, and if you'll ever decide to create another company, then
AI will do it. So that's perfect.
There you go.
AI is not going to create the app for us.
I kind of want to step into dating now, and just like human connection, really in general. So, how do you think the practice of mindfulness impacts the way that we connect with others, especially in the early stages of dating, or even on a first date?
I mean, it's everything, because your self-talk, right? What you're saying about yourself before you go to the date, what you're saying about yourself while you're there. The mind, right? Judgment. The judgment mind is something we all can benefit from understanding how to control. And so I think with dating, it's like just being aware of your thoughts will actually change your whole date. Mm-hmm. Having no expectations of like yourself and of other people, just being there to be there and not needing something to happen. And that all comes from our mindset. So I think what you can do, like, you know, if you're dating before a date, is just really like, again, I'd say Marlene in the app is the one for this, because she's actually Madonna's personal trainer, and she's like, okay, mi reina, today's your day, wear your crown, let's go. And it's just like knowing that you're enough with or without that date, I think, is everything, because then it takes the pressure off it to be successful and for it to go a certain way.
I think that's probably one of the larger, if not the largest problem with dating and daters nowadays, is that people hold such pressure and such high expectation for themselves and the other person to be able to do it. Right. And when we were just talking to our last guest, she was like, dating is meant to be fun.
Right.
You're meant to go out on a first date and have fun with the experience. And like when you place all of those expectations, you have so much pressure, you eliminate the element of fun. So it's very interesting that mindfulness could be, say someone's like new to mindfulness and meditation, and they're really nervous for a first date. what advice would you give them? Or like, is there a simple mantra, or is there perhaps one of the elements of the app that you would suggest, or a trainer?
Yeah, I think all of the above. There's so many things you can do, but I'd say do a class in the app 100%. Like it actually works. I'm not just being annoying. But if you don't want to, if you don't want to use the app, mantra. I have a mantra somewhere here. Be here now. I am here, I am now, I'm here, I am now. And what that will do is it will shut off the thinking mind, right? Because most of our problem is we just think so much. And like we overthink, and then we say just bizarre shit to ourselves, and just like how it's going to go, and just like projecting all these bizarre scenarios. And I think if you can do anything is to shut off that mind. And so I'm here, I'm now, breathing in, I'm here, exhale, I am now. And just coming into the breath, coming down, out of the mind. I always say take the elevator out of the mind into the heart.
I love that.
How could somebody switch this saying that I hate all men and all women are crazy, and when we generalize those things in our brain and we go out on dates with that thought, how impactful is that, and how can somebody quickly reshift that to think, okay, yes, you've had some bad experiences, but you have to stop thinking that all of these people are this way.
Yeah, and with this belief system stuff, right? So we all have belief systems that we have since before we're 7 years old. And I think it's just becoming aware of what those belief systems are. Like you can ask yourself right now, men are, women are, and your answer, you can ask yourself, like, does that belief system resonate with what I want from my life? All men are disappointing, unreliable, cheaters, disloyal, like women are crazy, X, Y, and Z. It's like that might have reflected your reality in a previous relationship, but you don't want to project that into your next relationship. So what I would do is I would just like start affirming new things. All men are reliable. All men are loyal. All men are kind. And whatever it is you want to manifest in your relationship, start bringing that in and start affirming that. And then you'll see you start attracting different people. Law of attraction, and what happens with people, and I see it in a lot of my early dating days. And then, it's like unavailable men. For me, I attracted unavailable men until a point where I didn't. And I started changing my belief systems. Like, oh, men are available, are kind. And so what I see with my girlfriends is like, I have one particular girlfriend who was like, I fucking hate men. They're all the same. And I'm like, you say it so much all day. Your reality will match up to this belief. If you keep saying like, I feel sick, it's a thing called psychoneuroimmunology, where our cells actually respond to our thoughts. So because the mind is not local, right? It's like every moment we think a thought, your cells respond. So you start creating the environment in which you're speaking. So it's like start watching what you're speaking.
And this is kind of what manifestation is.
Yeah, well, this is science. Like PNI is actually
but the science
science
of manifestation.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
a lot of people
Yes.
poo-poo manifestation.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying, if you use words like law of attraction and like retraining your brain to think a certain way, it could only be impactful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's an internal manifestation, right? So your thoughts create your internal environment, and then you have the external manifestation, of course. But yeah, I mean, just becoming aware also, I think many people dating these days, like, don't even know what they want. I'm just kind of looking for like this thing to happen that's going to change your life. And it's like, really sit down and write down, what do I want? What are the traits? What are the characteristics? And then really see if that's aligning with what you're attracting and if that's what your thoughts are saying. Like if you want a man who's, I don't know, what's like kind, and you keep attracting horrible, narcissistic people, it's like, well, is your mind telling you that you're attracting narcissistic people? We'll just like retrain that. And it really is, that's where the work, when they say like self-work, the work is becoming aware of your belief systems.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating because there'd be so many times we would be at an event and somebody would come up to us flippantly and say, find me a great guy. And I started doing this where I would actually look the person in the eye and say, do you actually want to be in a relationship? And they said, well, I don't know. And I said, so you came and said to me, you asked me to find you a great guy. But then when I asked you if you wanted to be in a relationship, you don't know. So how does that make sense? Mm. And they said, you're right. I don't really know what I want. And I said, well,
there you go.
Bingo. There you go.
I think conversations like that really make people pause and reflect.
Yeah.
People have this like preconceived notion, this idea, and it's largely societal as well, where it comes from like, by this age we should be here, and by this age we should be here, and especially I think even more so for women, of the fact that like, you should be married and have children. And so when people are out in the dating world, in the modern dating world, which has gotten so convoluted with like dating apps, technology, that you get to a point where you just go, well, I know this is something I should have done, but then also haven't done the work on myself, and then you get frustrated frustrated that there's no solution to the problem that you've created.
And I remember that girl in particular, she was so nice, but she said, well, I do want to be in a relationship, but I want to be in a relationship where I could do what I want and I have freedom and no one bothers me. And I said, well, that's really specific. And I don't.
Are you Sagittarius? Sagittarius love their freedom.
We do.
How do you? You could have your
it's
freedom.
like number one thing.
I mean, freedom is a real thing, but then also something like ironically when it comes to astrology, I've always loved my freedom. I've been a very independent person my entire life, but I also thrive in a safe space of a relationship where I'm allowed to be myself, but I love the connectivity and I love the monogamous nature of being in, a marriage.
But love is freedom.
It is.
It's not one or one.
No, and I
that's
think
beautiful.
Joe does a really good job at like allowing me to be me, to my fullest extent within the relationship, and hopefully I do the same for you. Yeah, your full annoying self.
Just not say yes.
So how do you think mindfulness can help? I mean, I think you kind of touched on this, but I wonder if there's any other specific points. Like a lot of people have unhealthy dating habits, and whether that's like fearing rejection or external validation, how do you think mindfulness can kind of assist and help in that situation?
Yeah, well, I think external validation is that's there you go. That's the bubble. It's like sit in there and like ask yourself like, what is it? Why do I need a man to make me feel okay and to feel enough? And it's annoying. Like it's really annoying to hear this. I remember people saying this. It's like, God, I just want to be in love and like, and I want to be okay. But it really is like if you outsource your happiness, there you go. He's gonna go. Where's your happiness gone? So I think like work on yourself first. Like be happy and content with who you are in the moment in your life, doing what you're doing, and don't feel like there's a hole within you because there's not a man there. So I think a mindfulness practice is just that. And, mindfulness doesn't mean sit down and meditate. It means being aware of what's happening. So even just bringing awareness to where you might outsource your happiness or outsource your love or self-worth, which is a big one for a lot of people. It's like, I have some friends who were always in a relationship, and it's like that fear of being alone. And that's and it's very scary, for some people to be alone with themselves. But you got to take the step to sit there and love yourself, like love your whole being. I just had this conversation with someone this morning. It's like the society tells you who to be and when to be that person, but you don't have to listen to that. And really just tuning into yourself and saying like, I'm perfect as I am. I love myself and I'm doing great. No matter what your mother says or what anyone else says or what Raya says, it's like just stop just outsourcing your self-worth, I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's a question to ask yourself, like, where's my worth at? And what makes me feel worthy? Because just being as you are is good enough,
Heck yeah. That's something I actually really struggled with. I was a model for a really long time, and obviously you get a hell of a lot of external validation from that, right? You're going into shoots every day. Well, your job is based on other people's perceptions of you and how worthy you are in that moment to book that job. And then you go on set and they're loading you up with compliments, being like, you're so beautiful. And I stepped away from the industry 2 years ago voluntarily because I was just like, I've had enough of this. And it took me, and he can attest to this, it took me like still in the process of doing it now, but really intensely for like a year, I had to unwind the validation that I got from that external features and really start to figure out like how I validated myself in my own day-to-day life, and even not get validated through him, which is the closest person to me. But it was so difficult. But then I started to realize that like those beautiful understandings of like I am enough by the way that I am, and like that to wake up in the morning and validate yourself is possibly the greatest joy.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that humans would rather a stranger say compliments and validate them than themselves. Like I don't know why or how, but you should always be your biggest fan. And it sounds selfish or conceited, but I don't know. Some people are just brought up differently. I was just always my biggest fan, and I didn't want to be conceited or outward about it. But inside I was like, I'm my best friend. If I can't be my best friend, why would somebody else want to be my best friend? And I think however we train people to do that, that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, it's all self-talk, because it's just that little roommate inside that's constantly saying stuff that you don't even realize it's happening. If you have 90,000 thoughts a day, 90% of them are the same as yesterday. So it's like you got to think new thoughts about yourself. and you have to want to change.
I want to do this test with people that you just said earlier. Men are what and women are what, and see, they have like 1 second to respond and see what they say, because
that's where their deep-rooted belief systems will come out.
Because when you said it to me, I actually in my head did it, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of happy with what I thought, but I'm sure.
Do you care to share, or would you
well,
prefer
when you
that
said
to be an
women,
insight?
men are what, I just thought strong, and you said women are what, and I just thought like beautiful. Not that they're bad or good, but that's just kind of
It's
what
your natural inclination.
That was my natural inclination to think.
Both positive things. So that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that, darling. How do you feel about dating apps?
I have never.
Very forward.
I actually have never been on a dating app. I had Raya, but just for like to see who was around, because there's a geo map. Never went on a date. You know?
I think that's a lot of people on Rise, is to see who's on there. Truth be told,
just like to see who's nearby. Yeah. Look, some of my best friends are in long-term relationships that met on dating apps. I think it's incredible. Yeah, I don't.
How did you meet your partner?
Yeah,
I met him on the beach.
How? Walk me through it.
It was funny because people who are out there looking for love, I was not looking for him, and which is ironic. They say like when you're not looking, you'll find them, right? I was actually dating someone else at the time, and we had mutual friends, and I had heard about him, and then I met him, and I was like, oh, whatever. And as I was saying to Felicia today, which is funny, it's like because I was dating someone and I had no interest in him. He also lived in Boston, so I was like, that's not happening. You know, I was just completely myself. Just like didn't give a shit, on the beach, playing backgammon, reading books, reading poetry, just so confident because I wasn't worried about him looking a certain way, which I think a lot of us put a lot of focus into, is like needing to look perfect, and you're on a beach, or you got to sit the right way so you don't have like belly fat or like this, you know, it's like, and I was just like laid out, just didn't give a shit. And then we were friends actually first. We were friends for about 2 months, and then very, very awkwardly, my very German girlfriend came, and she was like, "What's going on here?"
So straightforward.
And I was like 18, and you know, and it looked like it was like premeditated, where I told her to say this in front of him. You know how girls can do that? It's like, "Hey, bring this up," and I did not apply because she didn't like the guy I was dating at the time. It was more of a rebound. It wasn't like serious, but she was like, "So, Peter, you seem great." And I was like kicking her under the table, you know, because we were out at dinner, just the three of us. I'm like, oh, what is she doing? She's like, I have a friend. She's Irish. She's like, you might know her. She's actually like on the market. And I was like, oh my God.
Shut the fuck up.
How'd you feel about this?
I was so uncomfortable. I was beetroot.
Were you attracted to him in the moment, like before this?
No.
So it was right out of left field.
Just like completely, I mean, he's completely my type, you know, like in terms of like physical. But I was dating someone. I don't know. I just didn't see him like that. And then he was like, I mean, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like literally red in the face. And then she went to the restroom, and I'm like, I'm going to kill her. You know, she went in the middle of all of this to the toilet. And then that was it. The next day, he came to my gym and was like, hey, I'm at your gym having coffee. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right.
Just by happenstance.
I just happened to be here. And it's like we were in Greece. It wasn't.
And you're still with the other guy.
I was still with the other guy. So we were friends. And then he said, I'd love to take you out to Bill Burr. Bill Burr is my favorite comedian.
Bill Burr's great.
And he was like, Bill Burr's playing at the Acropolis in Athens.
From Boston, I think, right?
From Boston.
Yeah.
He's like, I'd love to take you. And I was like, well, like what, on a date? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I have, what? And so I told the other guy, it wasn't serious. It was really just more casual. And I told him. And then we went on our first date. And it was like 2 years ago now.
You do know that Boston has a lot of Irish people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're right.
They're like, we call them plastic Irish.
Plastic Irish? It's so funny.
They don't speak Oscuelga, but yeah. Okay. No, they are. I love Boston. They actually have a lot of like football teams from Ireland there.
So
you'll fit right in.
Is he within the space of like mindfulness meditation?
No, not at all.
No? Is it something that he absorbs?
Not at all.
Nope, really?
No. Yeah.
So interesting.
Opposite.
Again,
we're opposites, complete opposite.
him and I are opposites.
What does he do? Like
He's
with his
in
life?
Family business. Yeah.
So
Coffee.
interesting.
Sports or?
He plays a lot of sports. Yeah. He's
Boston's a big sports town.
Celtics guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a Knicks guy.
I mean, his rivalry, with New York.
We're Lakers. I'm a Laker girl.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
So interesting.
LeBron.
The opposites attract thing. We were just talking about it, and like it's just so true. I mean, morals and values kind of have to be aligned and the same, but then it's just like on the personality and the surface level things. I found the most successful couples often are always. So being in a 2-year relationship, which I assume to be a healthy, fun-loving relationship, what do you think the key foundation for a healthy relationship is?
You have to be ready. I think you yourself have to be ready. to be, again, do all your work. What are your shadows? What are the patterns you've been repeating? For me, this is my journey. It was just like, what patterns have I been repeating that I don't want to bring forward? And really heal that, go into that and see like what part of me attracted these people that might be unavailable or whatever it is, and heal that within yourself and be okay with who you are. And you'll attract someone who's also okay with who they are. And together you'll just be two little peas in a pod.
Is he very self-assured?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so
What's your
much.
sign?
Taurus.
Okay. Taurus. Oh, nice.
Interesting combination.
Is it good?
Yeah, that's good.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also it's so
Why
much
do you see
more
it sound so shocked?
so much
Really?
Really?
I never really asked anybody, and I just feel like you're a fire sign. I'm an earth sign.
Do you know the rest of it or no?
No, my mom does. I'm shocked. My mom doesn't know what time I was born.
Which is saying a lot.
Shocked.
Yeah,
And
because
she
she's
lost my
an
birth
Italian
certificate,
mother.
So I'm just
Oh,
like,
wow.
Jackie.
what if something happens to me that we need the birth certificate?
Yeah.
You can get a copy, it's fine. Yeah, but it's because you're earth and I'm fire, and we're two elements kind of like combating each other. Again, we're very dissimilar. We're not similar at all in any way, shape, or form.
I'm
That
just
really
very
works.
stubborn and
Taurus.
very
Taurus bull.
competitive,
Yeah.
which I'm
But I'm competitive too. so
trying to
we're-
be way better at
Yeah.
in a relationship, obviously. But 5 years ago, 2 years ago, I was not going to lose an argument, or I was going to try my hardest.
Mm.
Now I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not worth it.
Well, you said something really beautiful to me once when we were at the end of an argument, which I don't really like to think of them as arguments. I just like to think of them as like a stepping stone to understanding each other a little bit further, because that's what those are, right? It's like you miscommunication, you're misunderstanding each other, and then you get to the thing. But you said, I recognize that if I win an argument, that means you lose. And I would never want the person I love the most to lose. And I was like, that's really sweet. And that was such a beautiful way to look at it. And I think that really shifted the way that we quote unquote argue with each other, because there isn't like a winner. We may have very big feelings at certain points, but like there isn't a winner. It's just more so like, here, I'm trying to show you how I feel and you're trying to show me how you feel.
Yeah. Mindfulness, awareness.
The
whole thing is everything we do is just like, just be aware of where you're coming from. And
Yeah.
like, at the end of the day, choose love. You're both winning together.
Exactly.
And that's where I would say, like, even when I have art, it's like the end goal is like, we're both winning.
Yeah.
We're together. We're a partner. It's not like one versus the other.
On the same team,
Yeah.
always. That's something that we always say to each other is we're on the same, even if like he starts to piss me off or I piss him off and he'll go, we're on the same team. I'm like, you're right. We're on the same team.
Has he been back to Ireland?
He's been to Ireland, yeah.
And how does
He's met the
your family feel
leprechauns.
about him?
The leprechaun.
They love him. My dad took him out. He never golfed before. He's more of a basketball player. My dad took him out golfing.
Nice.
And Jesus, yeah. I mean, Irish men are very like, we're just honest. My dad was like, right, that'll be enough for today. He took
maybe there's
he
a
took most of the
correlation
grass out of
between-
the ground.
Maybe there's a correlation between basketball and golf not aligning, because I was a basketball player and I'm god awful at golf. I just
It's
don't know.
difficult though. Golf
mean,
is
there's
difficult.
complete opposite spectrums of like hand-eye coordination and,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's completely different.
I'm pretty bad.
Darling, I know that you're very competitive, but you cannot be good at everything. It's okay. It's all right. Just accept it. All right.
No, but then he went back to Boston and did lessons.
Oh, did he?
See, that competitive nature. That's something you would totally do.
I broke too many sticks I'm too worried.
You broke the club?
All the time.
Oh.
Like all the people I were with were just like embarrassed with like that I was there.
The fact that you called it a stick as well, by the way.
just,
The steel stick.
I would
Steel
throw a club in the
Oh,
woods.
wow.
I was like Happy Gilmore, but just not funny.
Were you
So
like
it was just-
shouting for and all that?
I was just doing a lot of cursing, and people were just like, "What's
It's
wrong with this
difficult. It's
guy?"
Calm down, bro. All right, I'm going to play some games.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I like to call this one Match the Meditation. So in your app, there are 6 different genres to choose from. Powerful, calm, grounded, focused, positive, and elevated. I'm going to tell you some dating-related scenarios, and I want you to match them with a genre of meditation. Are
Okay.
you ready? Feeling nervous before a first date.
Grounded.
Processing heartbreak after a breakup. You also don't have to stick to one. If you want to do multiple, you can.
Okay. Calm.
Like that. Cultivating patience while waiting for a reply from someone you like.
Positive.
Staying present and engaged on a date.
Focused.
Struggling to move on from a past relationship.
Powerful.
Fuck yeah. To create the most intimate and connective atmosphere.
Elevated.
Feeling overwhelmed by a busy dating life.
Calm.
Struggling with trust after being hurt in past relationships.
Positive. Only because I wrote the classes. I know what they say, so it makes sense in my head, you know?
That's what you're the best person to ask. All right, this last game is called Ask Niamh, Mindful Love Advice. Kind of like a love hotline, if you will. So these are from like the internet. This is also from some of our listeners at home. I get so anxious waiting for someone to text back. How can I stay calm and not overthink it?
Think about something else.
So straightforward.
No, but I don't mean that being sarcastic.
No,
like,
I know.
Your thoughts, you know, shift your thoughts. What are you grateful for?
Love that. I've been single for a long time. How can I use mindfulness to stay optimistic and open to love?
Trust. Trust life. Trust the process. Trust where you are. It will happen.
Even the smallest sentence of which you say is so powerful. Like, you're a powerful lady.
Less is more.
So true, darling. I tend to get anxious before dates, especially... Oh, yeah. I tend to get anxious before dates, especially the anticipation. Any mindfulness tips to calm my nerves?
Breathe. And do a mantra, yeah.
What's your mantra?
In a situation like that, I would just breathe, you know, take a deep breath in. I am, exhale here, and bring your focus into the moment and out of the scenario.
I am is?
I am here. And then it's like, you know, also telling yourself, I am here. I'm okay. You can also do it, you switch it up. I feel calm.
I like that. I'm in a long-distance relationship and I struggle with trust. How can I practice mindfulness to stay connected emotionally without overthinking or stressing?
That's a good one.
Stumped her.
I mean, I would meditate, you know, in the mornings. And someone once said to me, and I will say the universe versus God, but if you believe in God, you can use God. It's like, you don't have to trust somebody, you have to trust God. Or trust the universe, trust life, whatever word you want to use. It's like, when you trust yourself. Because when you trust yourself, you don't have to worry about other people's behaviors. You're going to be okay. So, you know, and that's another outsourcing thing going on.
The external validation, the external kind of source of it when it really comes from you. Love that. How do I let go of the idea of perfection and just enjoy the process of getting to know somebody?
Acceptance. You know, accept people as they are. There's a great quote by Ram Dass. It's like you go out into a forest and you see all these different trees, hawthorn tree, palm tree, oak tree, and you don't say that tree is not good enough. And they're all completely different. They just are as they are. And it's the same with humans. We're all different. We're all unique. Just, you don't even have to judge them or label them. Just accept them as they are.
Just pick which one you like.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that.
I always seem to attract the wrong type of person. How can mindfulness help me break this cycle? I feel like you touched on this earlier.
Well, I would stop saying that. My first thing would be stop saying I attract the wrong person. And now I would say I am attracting the perfect person for me. I am attracting a new energy. I am attracting positive experience, and just rewrite that thought.
You're so wise. Last experience. One. So true though. Last one. I find it hard to trust new people in relationships. How can mindfulness help me build trust again after being hurt in the past? Yeah, just being aware of that was the past, and don't bring the past into the future. Be in the moment. This is a new moment. It's a new day. It's a new opportunity. And let it go of the past. Let it go. And don't bring it into your future. You know, expect something new. So mindfulness just a meditation practice will help that. I think this is the calmest I've ever felt in any podcast ever. Like, I feel very centered and very just calm in a really beautiful way. I could talk to you for hours upon hours. Do you have any... Are you saying anything on the app? Do you have any lessons? Teacher. Amazing. Which one? Niamh. Yeah, no, I know your name. Niamh McCarthy. But are you under all of the genres? I do mostly powerful and calm. Stunning. Yeah. I cannot wait to listen to your beautiful voice. But thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you guys. What a pleasure. Before we go, is there a place that our listeners could find you? Or the app. Or the app itself, yeah. Shout it out. I mean, Mindful Nation in the App Store. Which I highly recommend. And Google. Yeah. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. Like, it is a beautiful, beautiful way to connect with yourself and hopefully connect with others as well. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Darling, you want to do the outro? Yes. Thank you guys for listening. Please check out one of our past episodes. Hit the subscribe button. It goes a long way for us. We appreciate you. We love you. Happy dating. See you next time. Bye.